Welcome back to the Navy Sports Magazine. Navy and Army coming up this weekend. Mid's been on quite a roll in star competition. Track and field teams hoping to do the same thing this weekend with Regine Tugade. Now, if you blink, you may miss her out on the track because she's one of the last couple of weeks we've talked to distance runners who are out there forever. She's out there and done in a flash. So for you and your teammates, how do you manage this week and all of the hype? Obviously, you get to wear your sweaters around. Everybody knows what that means around campus. How do you manage the hype of this week to make sure mentally you're prepared to go in to do what you all have to do on Saturday?
Well, for starters, pressure is good. This is our biggest meet of the season. We always want to, like I said, pressure's good. I always tell them, you can't make diamonds without pressure, So that's one thing. I'm really glad that it's looming on everybody's minds. This is what we've trained for so long. But really, all the effort that accumulates to, Saturday is, months worth of training. Just really taking care of ourselves, the entire time, working hard in and out of Wesley Brown, all of that just takes its role on Saturday.
What is that facility like to run in? And we talked all the distance runners, the relays, but for especially somebody that's involved in sprints and stuff like that, what is that facility like to train in and then obviously compete in as one of the best in the country?
Well, I definitely agree when people say, especially our coach, when they say how blessed we are to have such a wonderful facility. I've traveled to other schools who, they don't even have the banks on the track, and that in and of itself is just huge to me. I before coming here, I thought that was, a normal thing, standard.
Sure.
But after realizing hey, we're actually really lucky to have the banks up. That's huge, especially as a sprinter, because I do the 200. So right. Those banks mean a lot.
I was going to say, what's the difference in when you have the bank facility and when you don't?
Well, for starters, one of my biggest things is talking about injury. So, it's a smaller track indoor. It's only 200 meters. Right. So inherently you'll have a much tighter curve. And I've experienced this at other schools like, Princeton. They don't have a bank track. I've run the 200 there. It's really, really close call to, getting injured. Just having to run so fast on a curve like that. You're prone to just, have an injury at some point or another. So one injury is avoidable or much more preventable with a bank track, especially if you're doing sprints like I do. On top of that, I think it's much more, how do I say this? It's better for times, mm-hmm. I would say. Running on a flat track for 200 meters or even a 4 would be a little detrimental as opposed to having a bank where even if you're going uphill on one of the curves, coming down makes a huge difference.
Is there a mental difference too when you're running on the different types of facilities, or is that something that you can block out rather easily?
I think it's a little 50-50. Part of it is definitely mental. I know in my head it's harder to run on a flat track. I know my times won't be as good, just looking at the physics of it all. But that's just something that we have to overcome whenever we do travel, because we won't always be guaranteed to be running on a flat track or on a bank track.
You had the opportunity back in 2016 to compete at the Olympics, and I think anybody, especially in your sport, that's something that you strive for. You want to compete in the highest levels, world championships and things of that nature. Just what was that experience like to be able to at least be able to toe the line in an opportunity like that?
Well, definitely, it was a blessing. I'm born and raised on a small island, mm-hmm. So, the cards are played differently because of where I'm from. So one, that definitely means a lot to me just because, I am not Olympic caliber. I aspire to be, and I know how hard other people work. I mean, for example, our coach, Coach Delgado, he works really hard, and I know that's one of his goals for this year. I mean, it means a lot to me to be able to have that opportunity to showcase, put our island on the map somehow.
The island of Guam, for those of you wondering out there. As you head into a competition with Army, as a midshipman, is it different than most competitions, or is it easy to process that this is just a different meet? I've got to go out there, hit my marks, do the things that I have to do to make sure I do my best coming up on the weekend.
Are you speaking specifically about Army?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, like all of our meets beforehand are not only to, make sure they're all like tune-ups for this
Mhm.
meet. It's not like, hey, if you mess up at this meet, like it's game over kind of thing. Like all the meets we've had in the past couple of weeks, those are all just, to get us geared up, get us ready. So like this time around, like we can't afford any mistakes. We got to perform, we got to come out, the pressure's on, like I said earlier.
Obviously, for you lately, when you look at a lot of your times, you've been fairly consistent, right, in the same areas. Happy with where you are leading into this, or you feel like maybe you can do even a smidge better coming into this weekend?
Oh man, it's been frustrating running the same times I've been running all season. So I started out with a season. I started out this season with a personal best from last indoor season, but I mean, I was hoping for bigger and bigger PRs to come along as the meets progress, but it's so frustrating to run just like, a hundredth of a second faster, a hundredth of a second slower, like little things like that. It's just like, wow, I really, really, really need that big break, and I think this is the week to do it.
But is it good to also have that kind of reaction, because that means you're competing at the level that you want to compete at? It does frustrate you that you can't maybe get that extra hundredth of a second or something like that, or would you be disappointed if it really didn't feel like that to you?
Well, I think it's good. I believe in being extremely competitive.
Mhm.
I don't think people can reach their goals if they didn't have the kind of fire, that I don't know how to say it. It's just it frustrates me to not reach my goals so
Mhm.
quickly, and I think that's what's also helping me, work harder in and out of track. You know, it really it looms in the back of my mind, kind of thing.
Obviously, it's been a tremendous vehicle for you here. How does a young lady go from the island of Guam to the United States Naval Academy?
I mean, that was a huge shock. I had no idea what the Naval Academy was my senior year. It was just a random thought, like, hey, my coaches were just like, hey, there's this school. It's a little different, not really like a regular college, but I think it'll be a great fit for you for track. It has a great, academic.
Offering.
Yep.
Hmm.
So I was like, well, let's go talk to them and see let's see how things go. And really that's how that's how I got here.
What was your I
I,
would say this. What was your perception of it before you came and visited, and now that you've been here, what's been the reality for you since you've been here?
I'm gonna be honest. I was told many times how difficult, how challenging, how hard, and how different it's gonna be over here. Not only just because it's the Naval Academy, but just being in the States.
Sure.
I mean, I never lived or stepped foot in the continental U.S. other than at the airport. And plus, East Coast is completely different. So the lifestyle is gonna be different, and the school is gonna be different. So all of that was insane shock to me. I was like, well, I knew it was gonna be hard. I knew it was gonna be different, but I completely underestimated, the gravity of the situation.
Well, you've done well with it so far. So, congratulations on what you've accomplished so far, and best of luck to you and your teammates against Army this week.
Thank you.
All right, Regine Tugade joining us here on the Navy Sports Magazine.